My name is Allie.
And I'm Kirsten.
We're embarking on a climate change adaptation road trip. We're both recent graduates from the University of Michigan's master's program at the School of Natural Resources and Environment, where we studied environmental science and policy.
For a while, we've had an interest in how people in the United States are planning for the expected consequences of climate change, such as more heat waves in major cities, sea level rise along the coast, droughts in agricultural areas, wildfires in the West, and melting permafrost in Alaska.
We originally came up with the idea to do a road trip because most climate adaptation work is at the planning stage, and we weren't sure what was actually being implemented. Most of the information we found existed in the form of a city plan or a lone news article. So the idea of climate change adaptation for us seemed really amorphous. We weren't sure what climate change adaptation looked like and whether we would recognize it if we saw it.
And how can we as a country work towards something that we can't even imagine?
But the thing we realized as we did more research is that some people can picture climate adaptation because they're doing it already. Here in Michigan, the city of Grand Rapids has been incredibly progressive in its climate adaptation planning. They're increasing the tree canopy in the city to help regulate temperature, adding porous pavement to absorb more runoff, and moving towards 100% renewable power for the city's operations by 2020. The more we looked and the more folks we talked to, the more examples we found of people adapting to changes in climate at the local level. And we imagine that this is just the tip of the iceberg, although that might soon be an outdated metaphor.
So our plan is to make these adaptation examples accessible by telling people stories.
We're planning to pile our belongings into my mom's minivan and set out across the country for 3 months. Well, or like around the country.
We'll visit about 20 small towns and cities and conduct dozens of interviews. We'll have a blog that will include short pieces of writing, photographs, audio, and some video.
The idea is to document the technologies people are adopting in response to the climate impacts they're already experiencing. A technology can be something very concrete, like painting a roof white to cool it off, or growing more diversified crops to deal with drought, or building seawalls along a coast to deal with rising tides. But it can also be more of a process, like training community members as climate leaders or rethinking how property is insured. So by the end of the trip, we hope to have answered the question,
what does climate adaptation look like? If you want to find out more or help us make this happen, check out our blog at adaptationstories.com.